Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
Well, I never give up an opportunity to come to West Annapolis because it's really going to be an area that's popping. But I wanted to hop into Crosby Marketing and Communications right here on Melbourne Avenue. And today we're speaking with Raymond Crosby, who is the CEO and the head guru and the marketing genius and the man behind the brand, I guess it is. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, John. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, Happy New Year, and thank you very much for inviting me up here. And we just wanted to learn a little bit about Crosby Marketing and Communications, and I understand that it wasn't your idea.
No, actually, this is the brainchild and entrepreneurial venture that my father, Ralph, started. So my father, Ralph, is a lifelong Annapolitan and started his career in journalism after getting out of the University of Maryland, and was a journalist, throughout the 70s. At one point, he had me and my two sisters and wanted to be able to go to our games and recitals and other things instead of commuting back and forth to D.C. every day. So we actually went into business here in Annapolis with a gentleman named George Phillips, and they ended up having a variety of restaurants and small shopping centers and other entrepreneurial ventures. But he always did all the marketing for their entities, but then he also had many friends who said, "Hey, Ralph, can you do this for my business?" And that's how the firm actually started.
So it was totally word of mouth.
So a lot of it word of mouth. And the original genesis of the company was he bought 3 small tourism publications, Rambling Through Annapolis, Rambling Through Georgetown, and Rambling Through Alexandria. And these were small tourist guides. And my mother sold the ads, and my father wrote all the copy, and a woman named Barbara Butt, who worked out of her basement, classic kind of entrepreneurial endeavor. She helped do all the production and make it happen. So, between my father's journalistic background and entrepreneurial spirit, that was the little seedling of the idea that ultimately has become Crosby.
And how long ago was that?
So he started, the company was officially started in 1973 as when he bought those tourist publications.
Wow.
I joined when I got out of college, and I was the 3rd employee. That was in the early 80s. We've been growing and going ever since.
Well, that's one thing. I do know that you are growing and growing. It doesn't seem that a week goes by when I'm not getting something from Crosby saying, "Hey, we've added somebody else to our team," whether it be here. And you do have another office over in Bethesda outside of D.C., right?
Right. Yeah, we do. So we're up to almost 120 people now. We have about 75 here in our Annapolis headquarters. Here in West Annapolis, and then we have another 25 or so in our Bethesda office, and then we now have employees that are working remotely in, I think, 7 states now. So
thanks to COVID.
Yes, so some of that is definitely thanks to COVID.
You learned how to do it.
Yes.
Well, what got the bug for you? I mean, you said you joined as employee number 3 after college. Was marketing and just watching your dad work?
Yeah, well, I think a couple of things. I was a radio, TV, film major, and I always loved film and music and, more the creative arts side of things. And my uncle actually ran a series of radio stations out in California. So I was like, well, maybe I can kind of combine my love of music and business. So I started out right out of college. I went to work for some radio stations in Baltimore, and I was calling on a lot of ad agencies. And finally, I said to my father one day, I think I want to sit on the other side of the desk, and instead of selling airtime, I want to come up with all the ideas. So he took me out to lunch one Sunday, which was at Fred's Restaurant. If you remember Fred's here in Annapolis, it was an old stable restaurant here. He said, well, why don't you come to work with me? And that's how he and I started. And I've been, incredibly blessed to have him as a mentor. And the company has just, started out from that small Annapolis, and then we got clients in Anne Arundel County, then we got, clients in Baltimore, Washington, and now we have, national clients, and it's just grown. Every 5 years, we've been able to kind of elevate and grow in our level of sophistication and in delivering great results for our clients.
That's fantastic, because it takes a special relationship to be able to work with a family member. And not many people have it and are able to make it work.
Yeah, I tell you, I have to give my father and my mother to some degree all the credit for that. My father's an incredibly gifted and giving father. So he's not only been my mentor, but he's absolutely one of my best friends. And I can count on him for anything. So it's really been a great partnership. We've had an occasional dust up here and there, but our love for each other has always superseded any of those things. And he's been my biggest cheerleader and supporter. And it's tough though. I talk to a lot of other people that work in family businesses, and they're, it's really challenging for some of them. But knock on wood, we've not had any of those issues.
Well, I would say that's probably a component of your success and your growth.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about the agency and what type of PR and marketing. I mean, who are your clients? And I mean, I know you talked about tourism and working the magazines or the publications.
Yeah, that's how the company started, and what we've evolved into is a fully integrated marketing firm that does very large scale outreach, engagement, and activation programs for very specific type of clients. So our whole mission is to what we call inspire actions that matter. So we work with clients who really have a cause or a purpose to help improve people's lives, delivering a product, a service, a benefit, or something along those lines that, ultimately contributes to the greater good. So we have kind of three types of clients. One is we do a lot of work in healthcare. Second, we do a tremendous amount of work for federal government agencies. And then third, we work with nonprofits and causes. So they are all mission-driven organizations. And, what we like to say is we combine, the absolute best of performance-based marketing, getting marketing results combined with having a purpose and a mission that we're supporting, and it's really dovetails nicely together. So we have clients on the healthcare side like Kaiser Permanente, Shriners Hospitals for Children. We work with nonprofits such as DAV, which is Disabled American Veterans, the Wallace Foundation, which is headquartered out in New York, is one of the largest education foundations in the country. And then on the federal government side, we have very large contracts with the Department of Defense, Department of Health and Human Services, Social Security Administration, and talk about a great cause. We just won last year a $25 million contract with the Peace Corps to help attract more volunteers to become members of the Peace Corps and do great things around the world. So we really live our mission, and we have a very tight focus on the type of clients that we work with, and it's been very successove formula.
I think that works for any company when you truly understand who your client is. I love Evelyn's across the street down here for lunch, but they're not your client. And you would probably, I'm putting words in your mouth, that you would probably turn around to Brandon and say, I'm not your guy, but I know a guy.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's one of the core foundational principles of marketing. Know your audience, know your customer, have a niche, and don't try to be all things to all people. And certainly we are in a very competitive environment in our industry. There's literally thousands of marketing, advertising, and PR firms out there, and we've really kind of carved out our distinct niche, and that really helps us attract not only the right clients who from the outside are looking at us and going, hey, they fit my needs, they understand me, they get me, and they're going to be able to help me produce the results I need to produce. The other great thing it does, though, is it helps us attract the kind of talent that wants to work on the kind of brands and clients that we want to serve. So it's a having that very strong positioning and that clarity of focus is really an important marketing formula for our own success.
Right. Well, you mentioned PR, marketing, and advertising. One word or three words?
What's that?
Is that one word or three words? PR, advertising, and marketing. I mean, do they all seem to be interrelated?
They are all interrelated, and marketing is the more global term that involves the variety of things that you do to engage your customer, whether it's the kind of product you develop, how you promote it, what the price is, and the various distribution systems. So marketing is the bigger umbrella. Advertising is the kind of the paid media that can drive action, and the public relations is how you mold perception and publicize your firm and other things. But the key is, and this is one of the secret sauces of Crosby, is the integrated marketing approach pulls together the tapestry of all forms of communication and all marketing disciplines to engage an audience, because nobody sits around and says, I want to see an ad, I want to see a social media post, oh, I'm reading a press release. It's all communications to your audience. So it can involve everything from kind of the branding of an organization, the advertising, the publicity, the website engagement, email marketing programs, search engine marketing programs, events, you name it, partnership development, sponsorships. All of these things meld together in an integrated marketing program to reach the right people at the right place at the right time to drive whatever the desired action is. Right. So we do, for instance, the national program to recruit more Americans to become organ donors. And we have very specialized audiences, from those 55 plus who may think they're too old for organ donation to a 17-year-old who's just getting their driver's license. And so we put together like a customized communications program to reach those very disparate audiences in ways that are going to be successful. So that's kind of why an integrated marketing mix is so important.
It's funny that you mentioned organ donation, because I spoke with a former employee of yours, and I'm drawing a total blank on her name, but she had a son, Jonah, who had...
Oh, Danielle Moore.
Yes.
Yeah.
With, with the kidney, the biliary...
Yeah.
Treason, I think it was. And there was kidney transplants. There was everything on both parts of that. And she couldn't say enough about Crosby Marketing and how you handled her crisis as far as being able to support them as far as, as much as you could. And she just went on and on and on about that. And it's, it certainly speaks to a local business that, you're number three, but there's, they're not just a number that are coming through here. These are people. And obviously that spoke really deeply to me, to sit there and say, this is not just, okay, yeah, well, sorry, you've got a medical issue. You've got 2 weeks of leave and we'll see,
Yeah. Well, number one, Danielle is an amazing person herself. And she's like a lot of people here at Crosby, who's just a great professional, but got a great heart and is just a super person. And, what they went through with their son, Jonah, was harrowing. Mm-hmm. As a parent, I can't even imagine what they went through, but she's come through with flying colors, was able to donate to help save Jonah's life, basically.
Right.
And they're doing very well. And we would love to have Danielle come back to work here at Crosby. But I think that's the kind of company we want to be, that not only does a great job being a business, but being a place where, our culture and our people enjoy working here, or care about each other. That's kind of one of our core values, is care and respect for each other. So it's great to hear that you've heard good things out there about us.
Yeah, well, and carrying on to that a little bit too, because you guys have been, COVID has thrown the world for a loop. Obviously, nobody's going to deny that. And certainly here, one thing that I became aware of during COVID was the food insecurity in the county and how, while people on the surface may appear to be doing fine, they're, less than a paycheck away from figuring out how they're going to buy the groceries the next week. And I know that you guys have been very instrumental in the success of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank over the last year. And you guys have always gone out to the community to find ways as a company. And this is not Raymond Crosby just writing a check saying, okay, here's $1,000, go away. You're walking the walk and you're talking the talk with yourself as well as your employees, as well as your company, as well as the brand. And I mean, if you can speak a little bit onto what drove you for the food bank this year?
Yeah, well, I think, some of this goes back to Ralph and my mother, Carlotta, who have always just believed in giving back, and that, we've been very fortunate and very blessed in a lot of ways, that it's in a way a responsibility to help your fellow community member. And so when COVID hit and we saw everything that was going on, and we were fortunate enough to have a very stable business, we looked around and said, wow, there's a lot of people in need. And we had we have our annual Actions That Matter Day of Service, where we close both of our offices and all of our employees go out and do community service projects. And about 5 years prior to COVID hitting, we had done one of those days at the food bank where we loaded food all day. It was a strenuous,
it was a brutal day.
It was my back hurt after that day. But they are a great organization, and what we love about it is it's like direct community impact. Like we, our, not just our work and our volunteer service, but our actual donation, we know it's going to help people right here in the community. So we got in touch with the food bank and made some very significant donations, and have continued to do that through this year. So we started when COVID started, and then this year we did another significant matching gift program. And, we just feel very fortunate to be able to do that. And again, hopefully our staff members feel good about it. We know if we're going to work really hard, but we can have that added value of being a business that's an engine for doing good things in the community. That's icing on the cake. And it's an important component of, again, being a good corporate citizen and like you said, doing more than talking about it, but, actually walking the walk.
It really is. And I'll tell you, if everybody that's listening to, when you see the food bank come up with a matching donation from Crosby, let's put them out of business. Let's make that check as big as we possibly can.
I've actually said that to them before. It's like, wow, wouldn't it be amazing? But, just look right now, we've made it through COVID for the most part. I mean, there's still lingering issues there, but their need is as great as ever. There's still a lot of people, and it's not just food. It's, baby formula, and, we have seniors out there in the community that, can't get medications. So, these are tough challenges, but again, I think the business community can really play a important role. There are public and private, ways to solve some of these problems. And, I'm a big believer that a rising tide lifts all boats. If the community does well, everybody should do well.
We absolutely should. And I do appreciate the fact that you're focused on the local community. And I've always, I used to donate an awful lot when I owned several travel agencies to We Care and Friends, and or the Boys and Girls Clubs of Annapolis. And we worked with them an awful lot. And people were like, well, why them and not the American Cancer Society or the, whatever it may be. And I said, because I know that, and it wasn't a whole lot of money, but I mean, if I write a check for $100, I know that it's going to buy 4 basketballs to work with kids after school there.
Right.
If I write a check for $100 to the American Cancer Society, it's probably going to go to the CEO a little bit and some benefits and then a little tiny bit like that. And I think it really makes a difference when we look at the community as far as the businesses that we need to support when we go out and, when we shop, when we go out and when we eat. These are our neighbors. These are our friends. These are the ones that are going to, take some money off of you and get the profit and spend it back into the community. And that's what really makes a robust community, which I think we really do have here in Annapolis.
Yeah, I think acting local is definitely something that is important, and being part of the community is of paramount importance to us. And so I think we're going to continue to try to be a really strong, not just from a donation standpoint, but from really being a champion for all people in our community to have the opportunity to be successful. And something that we recently did, which is a little different, is we just established a scholars program with Anne Arundel Community College.
I remember that.
Which is really interesting. One of the challenges our industry has, the advertising, PR, communications field, is it lacks diversity. So we want to try to contribute to bringing more underrepresented students and communities into our profession. So we've worked for about 2 years, and this year we actually launched the Crosby Scholars Program in partnership with Anne Arundel Community College. We get a $100,000 grant, and we are not only helping 4 students through paying tuition, but we're also bringing them here to Crosby. So each of those students now has a mentor or 2 mentors here at Crosby that we're working together to try to spur their interest in the career and help them, get some training that will help them when they ultimately get out of school to pursue a career. And that's going to continue over each year. So that program's going to grow. We've made a 4-year commitment, and it's really exciting. We had our first batch of students in about 2 months ago before the holidays, and it was really, really a cool program.
It's so fantastic. I mean, and my diss on the schools is that they say, okay, what are you going to major in college? Let's get you out of high school and into college or whatever it may be. But getting some real life experiences. Yes, I want to major in communications, PR, and marketing. I don't know what the hell that is when I'm 18, 19, or 20 years old.
Right.
I come in here into Crosby Marketing, and I can sit there and I can see, hey, this is how we're making a difference. This is how a company, as opposed to just a PR firm, operates. Oh, they're involved in the community. They're involved in this way and this way and this way. This is the type of creativity I can express for the clients, and really kind of hone their thing. I imagine that, one of the goals, certainly not the primary goal, would be that, you may find somebody that has come through you that's a superstar, and you're like,
absolutely,
bring it on in.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of a win-win for everybody, because one, the students are going to get some exposure and some mentorship and that type of thing. But one of the things I'm excited about is I think we can learn from those students. I mean, we have clients that need to reach young, diverse audiences who are from a different generation.
How good were you on TikTok a couple of years ago?
Not very. And our business is changing all the time, and that's one of the things I love about the work we do is, you've got to be up on culture. You've got to be up on technology. You've got to be up on, the zeitgeist of what's going on in the world and your community. And so I think, we're going to learn as much from these young people as they're going to get from us. So it's a cool thing. And our staff is really, our staff members that are the mentors, they're really excited about it. What a great opportunity for them.
Absolutely. Well, what are the future plans for Crosby? I mean, you've got an office in Bethesda. You've got your headquarters here in Annapolis. Are we moving to Hong Kong, London anytime soon? Or
Well, this is always going to be our home base. And I think one of the things that has driven our success is we've really had smart growth. So having a thoughtful growth plan, we want to continue to grow. We're certainly have more mountains to climb. But, we don't have any a grand plan to just geographically have offices all over the country. But now that we do have people we have a couple people in Boston, we have a couple of people we have someone in Vermont, and it's creating some opportunities to do work and have clients in some of those markets, which is really nice. But I think we're going to stick to our focus, and it's less about the geography of where we are and more about doing great work for the kind of clients that we can be very successful with.
I'd imagine in the remote areas, if you will, and I must say remote meaning employees are working remotely, probably could go back to your origins. Like, somebody there, oh, well, hey, can you, and it just sort of grows organically from that community. And if it makes sense, that makes sense there.
Yeah. But I think, interesting, despite the fact that we have a hybrid work schedule now, despite the fact that we have many employees that are fully remote, I'm still a big believer in human personal interaction, communication, and that you get better work, you get better relationships, that you build better culture by people being together. So we have a hybrid schedule now. People work fully remote on Mondays and Fridays, but Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, the vast majority of our staff members are in the office. And it really, I believe it's a big benefit.
I agree with you to the end of the earth there, that there's nothing that can replace a handshake or a look across the table or a smile or just a, hey, how are you doing? A stand by the water cooler and sit there and talk. And certainly in a creative environment like you've got here, to be able to throw ideas out like, back and forth to, bounce it off of different people with different thoughts and ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we have a lot of very, very creative people who you get them in a room together and really collaborating. And that's where some, great magical things can happen. So not that it can't
whiteboards
happen.
Going crazy, sticky notes.
Not that can't happen all virtually, but my feeling is there's still that extra value. One of the, every study they've ever done of employee satisfaction is that if someone has a friend at work or believes that their manager is supportive of them, the retention goes through the roof. So we have amazing retention compared to our industry peers. And I think one of it is that we all come in and, I know everybody. I know what some of their kids are doing, and I know what might be going on in their life, or just to say, hey, how was the holidays? What did you do? Or, hey, I heard you went to a concert the other night. What was that like? And that kind of just being together and being part of a team, I think is still, super important to being successful.
Absolutely. What's the future hold for you? I mean, do you have a son, a third generation that's looking to come over and take the reins?
I am very fortunate to have three very sharp, talented kids. And,
not that you're biased or anything.
Yeah,
but
no. That's mostly due to their mother, not me. But they're, my son Eric has just moved back to the area, and we're talking about potentially doing some things together. My son Ray is working at a multimedia firm down in Richmond. He went to school at VCU, and my daughter Kara has just graduated from NYU in New York City, and she has just started working for a marketing and event management company. So at some point here, there might be another generation of Crosbys involved in the business, but that will be partly if they really want to pursue that. And
well, sure, everybody's got to pursue their own thing, and you've had a relationship with your father, and to be able to do it. But I mean, it's kind of nice that all of your kids sort of have that little bug.
Yeah,
that little bug.
It's fantastic.
Rewarding.
I'm very fortunate and very proud of my kids.
I will say that one more thing on your father. If you can get the book locally or Amazon, you want to check out Diaries of a Main Street Boy. And this is the story of Ralph Crosby growing up on Main Street. I'm trying to remember the business that it was. I'm thinking it may have been next door to what is now Acme upstairs.
It's Memoirs of a Main Street Boy is the title of the book. You can get it on Amazon, and you can also get it at several local bookstores. My dad grew up 183 Main Street, which was right next to the theater that used to be on Main Street. It's now just it's right up from Osteria, two doors up. I think.
Okay.
And it's a couple of brick steps there, and it just kind of chronicles some of his journey through life from being born and raised here in Annapolis, and then some of the things that happened from the growth of the community, from some of the things that happened from his experiences with religion and diversity in the community, and how some historical events that happened here in Annapolis to present day all work together to kind of shape who he is, and has kind of brought the community to where it is today. So it's a fascinating read, and it's just a great story of a local kid who kind of made his own way and made something special of himself.
Wholeheartedly agree there. And I know that he coined the term the restauranting of Annapolis, I believe it was, when the restaurants started to come in and everything else. But it's a fascinating look into what Annapolis was and how it's probably an insight to a little bit how we got to where we are today.
Absolutely.
Crosby Marketing Communications has been around since the 70s here in Annapolis, but obviously the family has been here for quite some time. And I thank you so much for your time today. Congratulations on, I've got to get my calculator out to figure out how many years and everything that you've done for the community and continue to do for the community. And, all the best for the future for you guys.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun talking with you, and I'm really proud of our staff and proud to be part of the greater Annapolis community.
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.